You know, opening up the source documents for today's deep dive it felt exactly like reading the backstory of a massive futuristic tech corporation in a science fiction novel.
Oh, absolutely. The world-building aspect of it is wild.
Right. You're reading about, like, transgenic laboratories, human life extension, bioengineered organs, and you, as the reader, are totally engrossed in this sci-fi universe.
Yeah.
But then you scroll to the bottom of the page, and instead of the book ending, there's a button asking you to chip in $10 to help make it a reality.
Yeah, it is definitely a jarring transition.
It really is. So today we are opening the dossier on an initiative called PORCOMPLEX, which is run by an entity known as the Masourcing Corporation.
Right, and we're looking at their actual advertising material.
Exactly. Promotional copy hosted on, of all places, a platform called DonorBox.
Which is fascinating in itself.
Totally. And the mission here for you today is to unpack this highly unusual biotech pitch. We're going to explore what this initiative is promising to build, the wild spectrum of medical applications they're researching, and maybe most importantly, how they're trying to convince the public to fund incredibly advanced transgenic science through everyday grassroots crowdfunding.
Yeah, the juxtaposition there between the ambition of the science and the mechanism of the funding is, it's staggering.
Staggering is a good word for it.
Because we typically associate a platform like DonorBox with, funding a local community theater or helping a family replace a damaged roof.
Right, like $50 donations for a neighborhood project.
Exactly. But here, it's being utilized as the financial engine for a project aiming to entirely redefine mammalian biotechnology.
Yeah.
The explicit goal of PORCOMPLEX is to address the global shortage of organs, tissues, and blood products by providing clinically certified porcine or, pig resources that are seamlessly compatible with human medicine.
And the sources draw this massive, heavy line in the sand between what they are doing and what you picture when you hear the word pig.
Oh, definitely.
They explicitly state these animals are strictly not intended for food production. They are raised under what they call strict clinical grade standards.
Which is a whole different ballgame.
It is. I was trying to visualize what that actually means. And it almost feels like the difference between open source code and proprietary software.
Oh, that's an interesting way to look at it.
Like conventional farming is kind of like open source code.
Yeah.
You have a lot of variables, weather, diet variations, environmental factors.
Right.
It works, but it's open to the elements.
Okay.
These clinical pigs, though, are treated like highly encrypted, rigorously monitored proprietary software.
Complete lockdown.
Yeah, exactly. Every single input and variable is controlled, tracked, and locked down.
If conventional farming is open source, PORCOMPLEX is indeed a walled garden. And the reason you have to completely lock down the biological code of these animals comes down to the unforgiving reality of xenotransplantation.
Right. Xenotransplantation, that's the big word here.
Yes, and xenotransplantation is simply the transfer of living cells, tissues, or organs from an animal to a human.
Right.
In that scenario, there is zero margin for biological error. Literally zero.
Because it's going into a human body.
Exactly. The promotional material really emphasizes genetic monitoring, biosecurity protocols, permanent veterinary supervision, and strict clinical traceability.
Wow.
You have to know the exact genetic lineage, the exact health history, and the exact biological makeup of a specific animal going back generations.
Because if you don't have that perfect biological logbook, introducing an animal organ into a human body could introduce entirely new, unknown pathogens, right?
Pathogens are a massive concern, specifically endogenous retroviruses.
Endogenous retroviruses.
Yeah, these are viruses that might be completely harmless to a pig, but they could be absolutely devastating to a human.
Right.
But the even more immediate hurdle is human biological integration.
Okay, what do you mean by that?
Well, your immune system is an incredibly aggressive, highly trained defense force. It is designed to recognize foreign biological material and destroy it.
Right, that's its whole job.
Exactly. Millions of years of evolution have taught our bodies to attack anything that doesn't share our specific genetic markers.
Which makes sense. Like, you want your immune system to attack a flu virus.
Yes.
But you really, really don't want it to attack a liver that was just surgically implanted to save your life.
Exactly. That's the core conflict.
So how do they get around that? Because I've seen the word transgenic used a lot in these documents. How does that actually trick the human body?
Well, the most famous example involves a specific sugar molecule called alpha-gal.
Alpha-gal, okay.
Pigs naturally produce the sugar on the surface of their cells. But humans and other higher primates actually lost the gene to produce alpha-gal millions of years ago.
Oh, wow. I had no idea.
Yeah. So if you transplant a standard pig heart into a human, the human immune system immediately detects that alpha-gal sugar, flags it as a massive foreign invasion, and begins a process called hyperacute rejection.
Which sounds bad.
Very bad.
The organ is destroyed in minutes.
Minutes. That's terrifying.
Yeah. So transgenic modification involves using advanced gene editing tools like CRISPR to literally snip out the gene in the pig's DNA that produces alpha-gal.
Wow. Just snipping it right out.
Essentially, yes, you are breeding pigs whose organs are born invisible to that first violent wave of human immune response.
Oh, that makes perfect sense. It's like the human immune system is a bouncer at a highly exclusive club.
I like that.
Right. The pig organ is trying to get in, but the bouncer immediately spots the alpha-gal sugar, it's like a terrible fake ID, and kicks the organ out to the curb.
A very apt metaphor.
So transgenic editing is basically forging the perfect VIP pass. You knock out the alpha-gal, and the bouncer just waves the organ right through the front door. Precisely.
Yeah.
And creating that VIP pass requires a staggering amount of controlled biotechnology.
Right. You can't just do that in a regular barn.
Exactly. That proprietary software level of biological control isn't just about keeping the pigs healthy. It's the exact mechanism that unlocks their ability to merge with human biology.
Wow.
And once you master that integration, once you get past the bouncer, the scope of what you can medically replace basically explodes.
Which brings us to the actual applications they are pitching.
Right.
Because PORCOMPLEX is trying to establish this incredibly high standard of clinical traceability and transgenic editing, the donor material outlines a surprisingly wide and honestly somewhat jarring range of potential uses.
Jarring is the word for it.
Yeah. Because on one end of the spectrum, you have critical, life-saving interventions. They specifically list developing porcine organs like the heart, kidneys, liver, lungs, and pancreas.
To help patients suffering from end-stage organ failure.
Exactly. And they also detail clinical-grade tissues for severe burn treatment and advanced skin reconstruction.
Right, highly critical medical needs.
But then, in the very same section of their advertising pitch, they pivot straight to aesthetic and reconstructive medicine.
It is a remarkable pivot.
Totally.
They outline biological breast reconstruction as an alternative to traditional silicone implants. They list body remodeling using porcine-derived biological tissues as alternatives to synthetic fillers.
Wow.
And they even mention long-term biological solutions for baldness through follicular grafting.
Okay, going from we are solving the global organ shortage to we can cure baldness and smooth out your wrinkles in the same breath, that gave me absolute intellectual whiplash.
Yeah, it's a lot to take in at once.
It feels like mixing a critical emergency room trauma procedure with, like, a visit to a high-end cosmetic dermatology clinic in Beverly Hills.
It does sound like that.
Isn't it strange to group those together in a single medical portfolio?
Well, wait, think back to your bouncer metaphor for a second.
Okay.
Biologically speaking, does the immune system care whether the foreign object is a life-saving kidney or a cosmetic cheek filler?
Oh, wow. No, it doesn't.
Exactly.
The bouncer doesn't care about the intent. The immune system just sees a foreign invader. So if you solve the rejection problem for the liver,
You've inherently solved it for the cheek filler.
that is wild.
Precisely. From a cellular biotechnology perspective, tissue is tissue.
Right.
The primary hurdle across every single one of these applications is human biological integration.
So the cosmetic side just piggybacks on the life-saving side.
Pun intended.
Huh. Unintentional, but yes.
Well, think about traditional cosmetic fillers or silicone implants. They have significant drawbacks. Silicone is inert, but the human body still recognizes it as foreign.
It knows it doesn't belong there.
Right. And it often builds a tight capsule of scar tissue around it, a condition known as capsular contracture. And synthetic facial fillers eventually break down or migrate. But if you introduce a biologically integrated porcine tissue with that VIP pass, the human body doesn't just tolerate it.
What does it do?
It might actually vascularize it.
Wait, like grow blood vessels into it?
Exactly. Growing blood vessels into the tissue and treating it as a permanent part of the body.
Okay, so PORCOMPLEX isn't really a transplant company or a cosmetics company.
No, they're not.
They are building a platform technology. The platform is the perfectly integrated clinical pig.
Yes.
And once you own the platform, you can license it out to the emergency room or the cosmetic surgeon.
Precisely.
Mastering the clinical grade pig unlocks both the critical medical markets and the highly lucrative aesthetic markets simultaneously.
That is the core value proposition of their entire initiative. And their ambitions do not stop at standard organs and biological aesthetics.
No, they definitely do not.
Mastering this platform leads directly to the organization's most futuristic claims, categorized in their documentation under advanced therapies.
I have this source text right here. They outline a division called Porcos Extension Life. And yes, they include the little trademark symbol.
Always the trademark?
Always. This division is aimed at researching how to extend healthy human lifespan through aging organ replacement and neurological repair.
Ambitious.
Extremely. They also mention porcine rejuvenation therapy, which they describe as cellular anti-aging treatments.
They are essentially proposing a biological version of the ship of Theseus.
Oh, the old philosophical thought experiment.
Exactly. If a human reaches 70 and their heart begins to fail, you replace it with a perfectly matched, young, clinical-grade porcine heart.
Why?
A decade later, you replace a failing kidney. By constantly refreshing the body's failing components with young, bioengineered tissue, they are positioning xenotransplantation not just as a solution for illness or trauma,
But as a direct intervention into the aging process itself.
Exactly.
It's the ultimate sci-fi promise. But to pull off any of this, from the biological fillers to the sequential organ replacement, they need massive infrastructure.
Absolutely massive.
They mention operating through private clinics and research laboratories. But the crown jewel of their operational plan, the thing they specifically highlight in this campaign as a major goal, is the PORCOMPLEX Comoros project.
Right, the Comoros project.
We want to establish the first transgenic pig laboratory farm in the Comoros Islands.
Yes.
Okay, I have to stop here. Building a transgenic pig lab farm on a remote island archipelago off the eastern coast of Africa, that sounds exactly like the setup for a Jurassic Park sequel.
It definitely evokes a certain cinematic imagery.
Why an island, of all places?
Well, if we analyze the strategic logic presented in the text, they specify that the Comoros project is designed for secure breeding facilities and international scientific partnerships.
Okay, secure breeding.
Right. And this brings us to a crucial, sobering point in the documentation, the regulatory reality.
Okay.
The source material explicitly states that all of these technologies are currently in the research, experimental, and prospective stages.
Meaning none of this is actually approved for widespread human use yet.
Not at all.
The bouncer hasn't officially accepted the VIP pass in the eyes of the FDA or international health regulators.
Exactly the opposite. In most major jurisdictions, introducing heavily modified transgenic animal tissues into humans is fraught with immense regulatory hurdles.
I can imagine.
There are strict clinical trial requirements and deep bioethical reviews. Because these are highly experimental, unapproved technologies, having an isolated, highly secure environment for early-stage trials and breeding is practically a necessity.
So an island is perfect for that.
An island offers geographical isolation. When you are dealing with genetically modified animals, placing an ocean between your research subjects and the continental ecosystems is the ultimate biosecurity measure.
That makes total sense.
It allows Massourcing Corporation to develop these international scientific partnerships and conduct their foundational research in a tightly controlled ecosystem.
Far away from the immediate regulatory friction of major Western markets.
Exactly. Before they attempt to bring these applications to the broader clinical world,
That geographic isolation actually brings everything full circle back to the very first thing you see when you open the source material.
How so?
Well, knowing that all of this is still in the unapproved, highly experimental phase explains exactly why we are looking at a DonorBox crowdfunding page.
Oh, absolutely.
Developing transgenic island facilities, researching cellular anti-aging, and breeding clinical-grade pigs requires an immense amount of capital.
Immense.
Which brings us to the mechanics of the advertising pitch. How are they funding this biological future?
The advertising material on the campaign page is highly structured in how it breaks down the vocation of funds, meaning where the money actually goes.
Right.
They are quite transparent about their financial needs.
Yeah, they break it down into distinct categories.
Right.
There's research and development, which obviously makes sense, funding scientific studies and lab equipment.
Right.
There's biotechnology infrastructure, which covers those experimental labs on the Comoros Islands and massive data collection systems.
The physical buildup.
Exactly. But then you get to medical technologies, where they're asking for money for AI-assisted healthcare tools, clinical software, and medical robotics research.
And perhaps the most revealing category of all intellectual property.
Yes, this is where I find myself getting stuck.
It's unusual.
It is. They are explicitly asking donors to fund patent preparation, scientific documentation, and technology protection.
Right.
Usually, you see this level of intensive R&D AI, medical robotics, transgenic breeding facilities on remote islands, funded by massive venture capital firms.
Or huge institutional government grants.
Exactly. Or billion-dollar pharmaceutical conglomerates.
Hmm.
But they're using a donor box setup.
A standard crowdfunding tool.
Right. They are asking everyday people to choose a one-time, monthly, or annual donation. The preset buttons are for $5, $25, $50, $100.
It's like a local charity.
Yes. There's even a little checkbox you can click to amplify your gift by covering the estimated credit card processing fee.
Which is such a standard nonprofit feature.
Right. So who is this really for? Why ask the general public for $5 to fund a massive corporation's patent preparation?
To understand that, we have to look closely at the psychology of the campaign's advertising language.
Okay.
It is a brilliant piece of copy. Their primary slogan is, supporting research today to help create the technologies of tomorrow.
Catchy.
Very. By formatting this high-level biotech initiative as a grassroots crowdfunding campaign, they are actively democratizing the feeling of scientific discovery.
Democratizing the feeling of discovery, or just finding a clever way to crowdfund their corporate legal fees.
No, look at it from the perspective of the donor. When you read about life extension, organ replacement, and transgenic breakthroughs, it usually feels like something happening far away behind locked laboratory doors.
Like it's totally inaccessible.
Right. It feels like a future you will only ever interact with decades from now, strictly as a consumer.
And only if you can afford it.
Exactly. This campaign, by asking for $5 or $10, totally changes that relationship.
Also.
It invites you to be a stakeholder in the research ecosystem. It shifts the public from being passive observers of medical history to active participants funding the technologies of tomorrow.
Wow, that's a really sharp insight.
Yeah.
It's not just about the raw capital. It's about building a community of supporters who are emotionally invested in seeing PORCOMPLEX succeed.
Precisely.
And the donor box mechanics totally support that theory. They have options to display your name and comment on a public donor wall, or to make your donation completely anonymous, or to donate on behalf of a company.
It uses all the warm community-building tools of a charity fundraiser.
But applies them to a for-profit, futuristic biotech corporation.
Furthermore, the platform automatically creates a donor account for recurring donations.
Ah, of course.
This indicates they are looking for sustained engagement. They want people who will sign up for $5 a month, follow the progress of the Comoros project.
Read the updates on hair restoration and xenotransplantation.
Yes, and feel a deep sense of personal ownership over those scientific breakthroughs over the course of years.
So let's take a step back and look at the entire landscape we just mapped out today.
It's quite a journey.
We started by looking at a surprisingly simple piece of advertising material, a donor box page with a $10 donation button. But as we peeled back the layers of the source text, we ended up staring at a massive proposed ecosystem.
A fully realized world.
Right. We are talking about clinical-grade GMO pigs, strictly raised outside the food chain, acting as proprietary biological software.
Escaping the immune system's bouncer.
Exactly. We explored how bypassing that bouncer unlocks both life-saving tissue therapies for burn victims and organ failure, alongside biological aesthetics that could completely replace silicone and synthetic fillers.
Tissue is tissue.
Tissue is tissue. We touched on the sci-fi ambitions of sequential organ replacement for life extension.
The ship of Theseus.
Right. And of course, the high-security transgenic laboratory island facility proposed for the Comoros to give this all a regulatory safe haven.
It is a remarkable synthesis of advanced cellular biology, global infrastructure planning, and the professionalization of grassroots fundraising.
It really is. And it totally reframes what we think of when we hear the word crowdfunding.
It's certainly evolved.
Yeah, it's not just indie movies and neighborhood projects anymore. We are looking at the sheer, staggering scale of cutting-edge biotech innovation, trying to find a foothold through direct public funding.
Which places us in a very compelling and somewhat uncharted territory for how public science operates in the modern era.
Absolutely. So as we wrap up today's deep dive, we want to leave you with a final, lingering thought to mull over.
Big one.
Yeah, it's something that builds on everything we've unpacked today. Imagine we fast forward 30 or 40 years.
Okay.
If xenotransplantation and porcine-derived biological aesthetics actually become the absolute standard of care, if people are getting genetically modified pig hearts and biological tissue fillers as routine, everyday procedures, how will history view this exact moment?
That's fascinating.
Right. Will we look back at early $10 crowdfunding campaigns like this one as the visionary spark that democratized medicine and let the public directly fund their own biological future? Or will we view it as a bizarre, slightly unsettling footnote in the ultimate commercialization of the human body?
It is a profound historical question, and one that only time and perhaps a few more scientific breakthroughs will answer.
It definitely makes you look at that little blue donate button at the end of the sci-fi backstory a whole lot differently, doesn't it? Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the Sourcing Corporation's wild frontier. We'll catch you next time.